afternoon, Peter Racy here, Anzac Day Precinct YouTube channel. Come up to Kangaroo Point Cliffs Park. Has recently been returfed, a beautiful job, looks great. And we're here to talk about Reverend William Maitland Woods. And there's a very interesting story to be told at this location about the good Reverend. Part of the story relates to the Canon Garland Memorial Anzac Day Origin sculpture, which is behind me. A beautiful sculpture which is right at the top of the Kangaroo Point Cliffs Park here. And there is a very strong connection between the Reverend Maitland Woods and Canon Garland. The Reverend Maitland Woods is incredibly important in our narrative for the National Defence Chaplains Grove, as the Reverend was actually in Egypt prior to Canon Garland. Actually went to Gallipoli and brought or sent back to Australia one of the very first Australian flags that were flown overseas, and probably the only Australian flag that actually was flown at Gallipoli, and that for many years was on display at St. John's Cathedral. But the story gets more interesting because he was also an archaeologist, and he sent back to Australia to Canon Garland, as it happens, some incredibly valuable material that is on display at St. John's and is in storage down at the National War Memorial. Now, Canon Maitland Woods is significant in the narrative that Peter Collins wants to get going for Anzac Park, because he actually was in Egypt prior to Canon Garland arriving. He was actually at Gallipoli. He actually sent back to Queensland an Australian flag from Gallipoli that was at St. John's for many years. He actually collected significant mosaics that in part is at St. John's and in part, as I understand it, down in the National War Memorial. He had a significant role in capturing, recording, and being a part of the World War I history. And I really do agree with Peter Collins. He is a significant chaplain whose story deserves to be included. That's just for you. But it is more than just the mosaics that he sent back that is so incredibly important in the narrative of that early Anzac Day legend and the memory of the chaplains that the grove will represent. Because part of the task of a chaplain on the battlefront was to bury the dead, and Reverend Maitland Woods led the charge to make the burials non-denominational, and that was important because that theme and practice was picked up in the Anzac Day service that Canon Garland put together. Of the narrative of the Reverend William Maitland is in the fact that he was at the forefront of chaplaincy in the Australian Army. He found himself at Gallipoli. He sent back to Queensland one of the very first flags that flew at Gallipoli. Hopefully a very interesting narrative as we've added another chapter into the National Defence Chaplaincy Grove at Anzac Park. Good afternoon, Australia Day 2021 from Kangaroo Point Cliffs Park.